Welcome to day two, or just about day two, as the paddock always wakes before sunrise. The first riders arriving for their 8 a.m. start. Today's stages follows the same routes as yesterday, but with over 600 riders already cutting up the terrain, conditions are going to be much tougher than day one.
The bright, clear skies that greeted all the competitors meant that the wind was going to come back with a vengeance in the same way as it did on day one. The dust was seen from miles away on some of the special tests, and we're going to go to the women's review first. And it was Jessica Gardner who asserted her dominance over the women's category, coming home just ahead of her teammate Taylor Jones. Jones was fastest on day one, but this time it was Gardner who won more of the special tests, 3, 4 and 6, and only 2 for her teammate. It wasn't all plain sailing though. This peat bog would haunt a lot of the competitors throughout the course of the day. Taylor Jones, as I said, won the first of the special tests, but lost a little bit of her form on the way through. They took 5 between them, the Australians, but they were closed up by the Swedish in test 2. Through the peat bog now with Taylor Jones and getting stuck straight away, but managing to paddle her way through it. Later on, the riders were coming round that a second time and changing their line, learning from experience as it was much heavier than on the day previously. The third of the Australian girls, Gemma Wilson, got a 10-second penalty added onto her time, but was much closer today to the speed of her teammates. The 3 Australian girls are currently leading the way just ahead of the Swedish team. And this time it was Jessica Johnson who, as I said, won the special test 2. She also came afoul of the peat bog, but came home ahead of Emily Karlsson, who was the second of the Swedish riders home. They lost out by about 2 minutes to the Australians, but they put a good gap between them and the chasing pack. This is the second of the 2 Swedish girls, and Emily Karlsson through nicely directed there by her team and out and away on the stage. The third girl, Sanna Bergman, rode well, but didn't have the pace of her 2 competitive teammates. And the Swedish team lost those 2 minutes to the Australians. They still pulled a good gap on the French girls, Audrey Rossat and Geraldine Fournel. Just the 2 of them, remember, having lost one already yesterday. So the French girls in third, but riding well and hoping to pick up the pace there. They can't quite match the pace of the top 3 girls, Gardner, Jones and Johnson for Sweden. Geraldine Fournel was the second of the French riders home, and they really are missing some of their speed, but there's a long way to go in the women's competition.
Yeah, today went okay. I started off good and I won the first 2 tests, I think. And then I lost feeling in my hand after a crashing yesterday, but that's okay. And I made a few mistakes, but it's all good. Team Australia's still on top, so I'm happy.
On top they are with a gap of 3 minutes 20 now. France a further 9 minutes behind. Beautiful scenery greeting all of the runners and riders. And for the junior competition, it was once again the French who led the way. Loic Larieux was the fastest of the juniors, new to the team for this year. He put the moves on his teammate Matthias Bellino and took the honours as fastest junior of the day. He's 8th overall in Enduro 2, while Bellino sits 4th impressively in Enduro 3, really loving the 2-stroke at the moment. Kevin Romer was the 3rd home and Swan Servageant was 4th for France. Italy were just over a minute slower overall, but all 4 riders were within 54 seconds of each other, so a very, very consistent Italian team. Giacomo Redondi was the fastest, and he lies 4th overall in Enduro 1. Rudy Moroni followed him home ahead of Gianluca Martini. Niccolo Mori not scoring, but still under a minute within the time of his teammates. Moving up into 3rd position was the British team. Great performances from Daniel McCanny and Jamie McCanny. moved them up quite a way. Jack Rowland still not quite found the pace yet to match his more illustrious teammates, but the British team have moved up into third and only 22 seconds slower than the Italians across the day. But the French still running and riding very well, and it's going to be hard for anybody to catch them. The British will try, but after losing nearly a minute and a half today, there's a lot of ground to be made up.
Yeah, today I feel good, better than yesterday because I make less mistakes. The track was difficult and I come to the motocross and the bumps was good for me, a big line also. I have pushed all the day and I'm happy, and also the French team I ride good, and maybe we are first with I don't know exactly how many seconds, but more than yesterday, and it's a good day.
Well, it's exactly 1 minute 06.13, the gap between France and Italy. Great Britain sitting 2:39 behind the first place team. Great view there of the spiral special stage, and on to the French riders on that through the peat bog for Antoine Mir, who was first overall and first in E3 and the first Frenchman home. Obviously, he's adapted so well to that 300cc two-stroke bike that he's pretty much borrowed for this week. That he was faster than Johnny Olbia, second home once again for France, second overall in Enduro 2. Just behind him in Enduro 2 is Pierre-Alexandre Pellerin. He's fourth in Enduro 2 and was the third Frenchman home today. Having a good ride, but starting to feel some of the deeper ruts, not so much to his liking. René is a very softly spoken guy, but he is fast on the bike, and he was fast enough to stay ahead of Jeremy Joly, his teammate. He's third overall in Enduro 1, and the final Frenchman home was Fabien Planet. He scored seventh overall in Enduro 3, and he was the fifth of the riders to score. Roderick Thane once more not posting a time fast enough to get himself in a counted position. Australia move up into second place at the expense of the USA, mainly thanks to Daniel Milner. He's first overall in E2, but he was leading throughout most of the day in the overall classification. A crash on the last test cost him about 20 seconds, and that let Mio past. Josh Strang, a great ride for him in seventh overall in Enduro 2. Pushing that Suzuki to its limits. In fact, he is top Suzuki. Chris Hollis was in third position in Enduro 3 and the third Australian home, the number 21, having a better day today. Joshua Green followed him, and Matthew Phillips scored today, getting back on the bike after the knock on the head from yesterday. He was past fit to race and posted the fifth best time of the Australian team. On with the USA, and it was a Kawasaki of Taylor Robert that was third overall in Enduro 2 and the fastest American home on day 2. Absolutely loving the hot and dusty, dry conditions, similar to where he lives out in California. And he led home KTM of Charlie Mullins. Mullins couldn't quite match the team and pace of Taylor Robert, but nonetheless he had a better day in the saddle. Watch him through the peat bog here. The team frantically saying, go to the right, but he didn't. He hit it straight in the middle, aquaplaning over the water, but keeping some good skills there, the newly crowned AMA champion. Charlie Mullins headed home another KTM in the shape of Michael Brown. The number 40 is second overall in Enduro 3, but quite a way off the pace of Antoine Mir so far, and has a little bit more pace to pick up if he wants to help USA back up onto that step of the podium. Behind him, it was Kurt Caselli and Zach Osborne who scored the final two scoring runs for the USA on day 2. Thad Duval picking up a 1 minute penalty that dropped him out of a scoring position. Italy, not a great day for them. Denny Philippots with the fastest, 5th overall in Enduro 3, ahead of Manuel Molli, Oscar Belletti, Thomas Aldrati and Simone Albergoni. Alex Salvini is not in that list because of the injury he picked up yesterday, the thorn going right into his arm, which meant that he had to have some surgery, and that meant that he couldn't really grip onto the bars properly. It wasn't going too badly early on, but then he had a stone stuck in the chain, and then lost a foot peg and a 3-minute penalty when he couldn't get the foot peg changed in time at one of the transitions. So that meant that Alex Salvini dropped a lot of time, didn't score, and Italy have suffered because of it. Behind the Italians, it is going to be the Spanish. They were 2 minutes behind at the start of the day, and it's 1 minute at the end of the second day. Even Cervantes, once again, the fastest of those, 5th in Enduro 2 and riding very well. Cristobal Guerrero is 1st in Enduro 1, but he can see from that time and the position overall of Spain that it was the little bikes that weren't the bikes to have in these sorts of dusty conditions. It's all about the Enduro 2 and Enduro 3 bikes. Lorenzo Santolino, 2nd overall in Enduro 1, just behind Cristobal Guerrero, those two coming in with just a gnat's whisker separating them. Oriol Mina and Mario Roman picking up the other points for the Spanish team. So as the riders came into the pits, it was with news that Victor Guerrero was out for Spain, but it didn't matter so much as France put their things together, and we'll hear from Pellerine.
For the team, yeah, it's 2 good days. We have a good advance now. It's better and better every day, so that's a good point. And personally, yeah, it's really difficult to ride, but yeah, I'm all time in 4-5 first, so it's quite okay.
There we go, 4 minutes 56 the gap between France and now Australia. The USA just about 15 seconds behind them. Italy in 4th and Spain on the hunt.
With more problems for Salvini and therefore Italy, France is still holding strong in the world and junior categories. The Australian girls are building a good cushion over the Swedish, but with injuries starting to appear throughout the field, the scale of the 6 days is beginning to take its toll on all of its competitors.